Welcome to Simply Mindful. I am your host, Maya. Today, we are embarking on a deep introspective journey into the intricate workings of the human psyche. If you've ever woken up feeling an inexplicable weight on your chest, a profound sense of exhaustion that seems to defy the amount of sleep you've had, know that you are not alone, and more importantly, you are not weak. Today, we are going to explore why simply existing, simply breathing, can sometimes be the most courageous and biologically taxing feat you can achieve. Many of us navigate our days burdened by a silent guilt, the feeling that we aren't productive enough, that our lack of tangible achievements today equals failure. But I want to offer you a different perspective, one rooted in neuroscience. Behind that veil of overwhelm or lethargy, there is a complex, high-stakes physiological battle occurring within your brain. While you may appear static or unproductive on the outside, your internal systems are working overtime, engaging in a silent war for your survival and stability. To understand this internal conflict, we must look at the primary combatants, the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. Think of your amygdala as a hypervigilant sentry, an ancient part of our brain designed to scan for threats with lightning-fast speed. In our evolutionary past, this threat was a predator in the wild. Today, however, the amygdala doesn't distinguish between a saber-toothed tiger and an unread work email or an ambiguous text message. To your nervous system, these modern stressors are interpreted as existential threats, triggering a state of constant, low-grade alarm. On the other side, we have the prefrontal cortex, or the PFC. This is the executive center of your brain, the seat of logic, reason, and emotional regulation. In a balanced state, the PFC acts as a commander, calming the amygdala and saying, "Peace, this is not an emergency." However, in periods of chronic stress or during a depressive episode, the communication between these two regions becomes severely compromised. This isn't a lack of willpower, it is a breakdown in biological signaling. When the amygdala becomes hyper-responsive, it floods your system with distress signals. Meanwhile, the PFC becomes functionally offline or fatigued, its voice of reason drowned out by the noise of anxiety. This is why making even the simplest decisions, like what to eat or whether to take a shower, can feel Herculean. Your cognitive energy is being entirely consumed by the effort of internal emotional regulation. You are essentially running a marathon while sitting perfectly still. This internal friction directly impacts your autonomic nervous system, pushing you into a near constant state of fight or flight. Your body is likely being flooded with cortisol, the primary stress hormone. This physiological state is incredibly energy intensive. When you manage to hold yourself together, go to work, or even just maintain a basic conversation while this internal chaos is unfolding, your PFC is performing an extraordinary feat of endurance. It is fighting to maintain order in a landscape of neurological turbulence. But here is the most remarkable part, the concept of neuroplasticity. Our brains are not static. They possess an incredible capacity for structural and functional reorganization throughout our lives. Think of your brain's neural pathways like a path through a dense, overgrown forest. The first time you try to navigate a new way of thinking or a new way of coping with stress, it is difficult, painful, and slow. You are pushing through thorns and thick brush. However, every time you choose to endure, every time you face a difficult day and manage to simply stay present, you are treading that path again. Each repetition makes the path clearer and easier to walk. By simply surviving these heavy days, you are actively building emotional resilience. You are training your PFC to regain its dominance over the amygdala. Even when you feel like you've done nothing, your brain is actually busy rewiring itself for strength. When we deeply internalize the concept of neuroplasticity, we begin to perceive our daily struggles through an entirely different lens. It's vital to understand that every single second you choose to remain present, especially when the weight of the world feels unbearable, your brain is not merely idling. Quite the contrary, it is engaged in a profound process of neurological refinement. This transformative process only occurs when we refuse to succumb to the overwhelming emotional tides that threaten to pull us under. By simply staying here, by facing the void or the profound exhaustion within your spirit, you are performing a form of mental alchemy. You are training your prefrontal cortex to slowly but surely reclaim its rightful seat of authority. This internal labor is about learning to filter out the false alarms generated by a hyper-reactive amygdala. In a state of emotional depletion, this part of the brain tends to broadcast distress signals that are vastly disproportionate to reality. When we cultivate the awareness to pause and say, "This is the voice of my anxiety, not the truth of my situation," we begin to pave what neuroscientists call pathways of resilience. These neural circuits strengthen every time you survive a dark day. You aren't just getting through the day, you are architecting a more robust internal landscape. Society, in its relentless pace, often measures our worth through the narrow lens of external output, tangible results, social status, or material productivity. However, if we shift our perspective to neurobiology, we see a much more profound truth. The mere act of preserving your life and maintaining a semblance of consciousness amidst internal turmoil is, in fact, your greatest achievement. This is because such survival is the direct result of high-stakes, high-energy biological labor occurring within the confines of your skull. You are effectively navigating an active volcanic landscape within your own psyche, an arduous journey that the outside world may never fully comprehend. To endure this requires a level of courage that far surpasses any professional milestone. So, on those days when you feel utterly drained, when the guilt of the unproductive begins to gnaw at you, I want you to pause and lean into interoception. This is your ability to perceive the internal state of your body. Notice the rhythm of your heart, the subtle tension in your muscles, and acknowledge that your brain is working tirelessly to maintain homeostasis. It is fighting to balance your internal chemistry and bring you back to a state of equilibrium. Recognizing this invisible labor is the first step toward true self-compassion. It allows you to be kind to yourself when your resources are at their lowest. The incredible scientific reality is that sometimes simply continuing to exist is a monumental victory over neurological chaos. You are more than enough simply by maintaining the rhythm of your breath amidst an emotional storm. This state of being is the very foundation of genuine healing. Behind this heaviness lies a complex stress response system that dictates how your brain structure evolves. In the next part, we will delve deeper into how we can communicate with our nervous system to restore a sense of profound peace to our inner world. To truly appreciate the magnitude of what you are achieving on a difficult day, we must discuss the somatic experience, the way your body stores and processes the tension that your mind struggles to articulate. When you feel that heaviness in your limbs or that tightness in your chest, you are experiencing the physical manifestation of an overloaded nervous system. This is what experts call a high allostatic load. Your body is essentially paying a wear and tear tax for the chronic stress it is enduring. Yet, even in this state of high physiological cost, your system is prioritizing your survival. It is allocating every spare calorie, every spark of glucose to keep your vital functions running. Think of your nervous system as a sophisticated electrical grid. When a storm hits, the grid might dim the lights in non-essential areas to prevent a total blackout. This is exactly what is happening when you feel numb or unproductive. Your brain is strategically dimming your creative and social lights to ensure that your core survival functions, your heartbeat, your breath, your basic awareness, remain powered. This is not a failure of character. It is a masterclass in biological prioritization. You aren't being lazy. You are in an energy-saving mode necessitated by an internal crisis. During these periods, the bridge between your mind and body, facilitated largely by the vagus nerve, is under immense pressure. This nerve is the highway of the parasympathetic nervous system, responsible for the rest and digest state. When we are stuck in a cycle of anxiety or depression, this highway becomes congested. The signals of safety cannot reach the brain, and the signals of distress cannot be quieted. By acknowledging this, we move away from self-criticism and toward neurological empathy. We begin to treat ourselves not as a broken machine, but as a complex biological system doing its absolute best under extreme conditions. Let's explore the concept of cognitive decoupling. This happens when the sheer volume of internal noise becomes so loud that we lose our sense of agency. You might feel like a passenger in your own body, watching yourself struggle to perform basic tasks. In the world of clinical psychology, this is often a protective mechanism. Your brain is trying to distance itself from the pain to prevent complete psychological collapse. If you have felt detached lately, I want you to reframe that as your brain's way of creating a fire break, a gap to stop the fire of burnout from consuming your entire identity. Every time you take a deep breath in this state, you are sending a manual override signal to your autonomic nervous system. You are using your breath to whisper to your amygdala that despite the internal chaos, the immediate environment is safe. This manual intervention is the essence of mindfulness-based stress reduction. It is a sophisticated tool that allows the PFC to gently reestablish contact with the rest of the brain. You are, in real time, performing a soft reset of your neural circuitry. As we continue to hold space for these feelings, it's important to recognize that resilience is not about bouncing back to exactly where you were before. Resilience is about being transformed by the pressure. Much like carbon being compressed into a diamond, your nervous system is being forged into something more durable through this period of high intensity. The you that emerges from this season will have a more nuanced understanding of interoceptive awareness and a deeper capacity for emotional regulation than the you that entered it. As we approach the conclusion of today's session, it is imperative to reflect on the sheer endurance of the human spirit through the lens of neurobiology. We often think of strength as an outward display of force, of doing, achieving, and conquering. But through our exploration today, we've discovered that the most profound strength is often silent. It is the strength of internal maintenance. When you are at your lowest, your brain is performing a delicate dance of survival, managing neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, while trying to mitigate the corrosive effects of chronic stress. This is the invisible labor of the soul. Remember that your current state of exhaustion is not a permanent identity, it is a physiological season. Just as the earth requires a period of dormancy in winter to prepare for the bloom of spring, your nervous system sometimes requires a period of low output to facilitate deep structural healing. By allowing yourself to simply be without the pressure of doing, you are providing the necessary environment for synaptic pruning and neural recovery. You are giving your prefrontal cortex the grace it needs to recover from the relentless demands of the modern world. The journey of Simply Mindful is about honoring these internal processes. It is about understanding that your value is inherent and independent of your productivity. Whether you conquered a boardroom today or simply conquered the challenge of getting out of bed, your brain has been working with equal intensity to keep you moving forward. Every breath you take is a testament to your resilience. Every moment you spend in self-awareness is a step toward a more integrated, harmonious version of yourself. As we look forward, I invite you to carry this knowledge with you. You are a marvel of biological engineering and spiritual endurance. The battle inside may be fierce, but you are equipped with the most sophisticated survival mechanisms known to science. Trust in your brain's ability to heal, trust in the power of neuroplasticity, and most importantly, trust that your best is enough. even when your best is simply staying alive and breathing through the heaviness. In the coming days, try to shift your internal dialogue from "what did I fail to do" to "how did my body protect me today?" This subtle shift in cognitive reframing can drastically alter your nervous system's baseline, moving you from a state of threat to a state of safety. You are not just surviving, you are evolving. Thank you for joining me today on Simply Mindful. It has been a privilege to walk through these neurological landscapes with you. If you found this exploration helpful, please consider subscribing to our community where we continue to bridge the gap between ancient mindfulness and modern neuroscience. Until next time, remember to be kind to your mind, honor your body's need for rest, and know that just being here is a victory in itself. This is Maya, wishing you a peaceful path toward healing and clarity.